That way. So in 2008, I was working at a local design firm. I was a product manager working for some of the region's largest corporations. We were helping them design new products and services for housewives throughout the United States. And since design's a really important topic to this conversation, I wanted to spend just a second to give it a definition. Design's a problem-solving tool. It's often used by businesses to expedite their development of products and to connect with users. It helps them create desire. It's one of the reasons that most of us think that Porsches are sexy. It's why half the people here have iPhones, and why almost all of us think that our shoes actually say something important about who we are. Now, working at a design firm is a lot of fun. It's a fast-paced, high-energy, creative environment. And the life of a designer can be really cushy. I spent lots of days sitting in my Aeron chair, eating donuts. But then all that changed in 2009. My wife and I, we took a chance. We quit our jobs and we moved to India to start an organization there. You see, we had a vision that design could be used as something more than a tool to satisfy the desires of the wealthy, that design, when applied at a community level, could be an important economic development tool, that design could play a role in solving some of the world's biggest problems, like access to education, employment, and healthcare. And over the past few years, we've actually met with some success. We've been able to start 2 locally owned businesses with our first partner organization. We've networked with 7 other organizations to start programs. And we've instigated an international fellowship program to connect designers with those organizations. And we've also developed relationships. We've sat down at the table and watched as our partners have grown in their ability to manage a locally owned business and heard them reflect on the power of design in their communities. But this success isn't ours. We actually started by looking at social change movements throughout history and what made them successful. We looked at everything from Gandhi's Quit India campaign to Saul Alinsky working in the back of the yards of Chicago for workers' rights. And the one thing that we saw there was that successful community change requires ownership of that process by the community. And that's the most important thing I'm going to say today, so someone please tweet this. Successful community change needs to be owned by the community. And so we took a lot of inspiration in that, and we wanted to make that the core of our idea. And we looked at community organizing and economic development, and we saw the emergence of some best practices in that, which were the development of local ownership, the development of local capacity, and the creation of local wealth. And those became our core principles that we wanted to surround ourselves with. And so we also looked at design. We saw what designers were doing in this space as well, because designers were already working for social impact. And we saw that designers had taken the same process they had used when working for business and approached it in this area, which was that they would use the parachute approach, or drop into a community, do research, understand context, but then they would leave and do design and business development somewhere else. And we saw that there was a gap between design practice and organizing practice, that there was a gap between the designer and the community, and that gap created an unequal power dynamic that made it more difficult to build locally owned businesses, develop local capacity, and generate local wealth. So when we started our organization, we wanted to start it to fill that gap, to connect design closely to community. So we started small. We actually moved to a small village in South India. We found a partner organization there that was a community-level organization. And what that means is that that organization was made of community members and reflected their values. And we wanted to work for that organization to pursue their vision for their community's future. And one of the areas that they had identified as an important thing to look at was actually that there was people in the community that were having health problems because of indoor air pollution. And they wanted to do something about that. And also they noticed that there was a lot of charcoal production in the area. In fact, there was a lot of charcoal produced for industry, and there was a lot of waste charcoal that was virtually a free resource that they could use. And they thought that if they could take that charcoal, press it into a briquette that doesn't smoke when it's burning, and sell that to people who are currently buying wood, they could both improve health and create local jobs. And we thought that was a great idea. We got right behind that, and we applied ourselves as designers to that problem. We used a very traditional design process. We did ideation sessions and came up with ideas. We tested those via prototypes, and then we codified those into business plans. But we did something else with design. We used it in a very novel way. We actually used design as a relationship-building tool. We used design as a way to engage the community, and we involved community members in every step of our process. We were actually able to, through that, give design knowledge to that community, give the ability to use design thinking. We were able to help build local capacity. We were able to help start a local business that generates wealth locally. Now that sounds really pretty, but that actually took us a long time, and it's still going on. It's actually a really ugly, slow process. But we realized, and we reflected on it, that it's a lot like any relationship, and the longer that two sides are committed to something and willing to work together, the stronger that's going to get. And so that reflection is actually what makes this relevant to Cincinnati. Because when I look out and I think about the fact that you need time and you need commitment to create change, and I look out at this community here and at the city as a whole, I realize that we have a lot of people that are here for a long time. I mean, not many of us are going to jump the first train to the coast. And I see people that actually love this community. They actually care more about this community than they just do for Skyline Chili. And I know that if we're willing as a group to use that time and that commitment, and we're willing to own our change and pursue a vision for a stronger, more equitable, and more vibrant city, there's no reason that we cannot do that together. Thank you.